Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to the Study and Research in the UK webinar. My name is Arttu Rajantie, and I'm going to be chairing today's webinar. I'm the chair of the Finnish Science Society in the UK and a professor at Imperial College London. But first, I would like to introduce Kirsti Burret from the British Embassy in Finland, who will give the opening words for today's event. Over to you, Kirsti.
Thank you, Arttu. Thank you very much for that, and a really warm welcome to everybody that's joining this webinar today. It's really good to see you all and to see the numbers are still popping up. That's really encouraging sign of just how much interest there is. And thank you, Arttu, to you and to the Finnish Science Society in the UK for organising this and bringing everybody together. The fact that you're all here, of course, means that you are potentially interested in studying in the UK, and I am delighted by that. The UK has got outstanding universities which are known for their academic excellence, world-class facilities, innovative teaching, and some of the most cutting-edge, really impressive research. So it's a good place to be, and the UK rightly ranks really highly in some of the global university league tables, something that we are very proud of. We're also part of Horizon Europe, and that is particularly relevant to Eurofields and offers more and more opportunities. And as much, of course, as the academic side and the research side is central to what's drawing you to the UK, you know, it is about the holistic student experience and making the most of that. We've got a very rich tradition of active student life built around student unions, student societies, and students really value that opportunity of complete immersion and exposure to the UK cultural life. Deciding what to study, where to study, when to study is obviously a big deal. So it's really great that you're all investing the time in joining the webinar today and finding out as much as you can. You've got a great panel, lots of good speakers on that, and they've got lots of different expertise and experience that they will be sharing. You will, I am sure, already know that some of the great British traditions are around debating, asking questions, so make sure that you use all that today. Use this time to ask the things that you really want to know. And I hope you find the information that you need, and I hope that you do consider studying in the UK in the future. So thank you very much for joining. And Arttu, I shall hand back over to you. Have a really good session today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Kirsti. And now I will introduce our panel for today. So we have indeed a very good, very strong lineup of perspectives from different sides. So we have Siiri Hotakainen and Dina Pöllänen, who are undergraduate students currently at University of Arts London and Imperial College London, respectively. So two different kinds of subject areas. We have Joel Vasama, who is a PhD student at the University College London, and Olli Dufva, who is a postdoctoral fellow at the Sanger Institute. So they are covering more the research side of today's webinar. And then we have Andy Roper, who is International Recruitment Officer at Imperial College London, telling you from the university perspective. And then from the Finnish side, we have Linda Reinikainen from Kela, who can tell you about what the funding and arrangements from the Finnish side are, and Anni Kallio from Opetushallitus, who will be able to tell you about exchange student programs. And also we have Birgitta Vuorinen from the Finnish Embassy here in London, who is the Councillor for Science and Higher Education, and will be able to tell you what support is available more generally from the Finnish side. And as I said, I'm Arttu Rajantie. I'm the chair of the Finnish Science Society in the UK, and I will be chairing today's webinar. One thing I would like to just highlight is that on Teams, you've got the question and answer feature. You can see the icon, hopefully, at the top of your screen, where you can post questions, and we will then select those for the question and answer session, and you get those answered by our panel. So you can start posting your questions now or at any time during the webinar, and then we will cover them. So please use that to make sure that your questions will be all addressed. But yeah, so this is our panel, and so now I would like to hand over to our first speaker, who is Olli Dufva, who will be talking about postdoctoral research.
Right. Thanks very much, Anni, for the introduction. So, and nice to meet you all. So I'll just say a few words about about my background and how I ended up in the UK doing my postdoc, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have around that topic later. So I'm a medical doctor by training, and I did my medical studies at the University of Helsinki, and I did this MD PhD program. So it was quite sort of research oriented all the way from the beginning, and I graduated as MD in 2020 and as PhD in 2022, and my research was in and still revolves around genomics and immunology and cancer. So particularly trying to figure out how to sort of activate the immune system, the body's own immune system against cancer cells, and using lots of sort of large scale genomic data and sort of large scale experimentation, and that's kind of how I ended up at the Sanger Institute. So this is sort of a genomics research focused institute near Cambridge in the UK. It has sort of long traditions in genomics. The like one third of the Human Genome Project that kind of mapped the human genome for the first time was completed here, and there's a lot of sort of tradition and expertise in that kind of large scale science here. And I'm also sort of 50% affiliated with the University of Cambridge and another lab that's at the university. And maybe just a few words how I ended up in the UK. So I was, after my PhD, I was kind of decided that I wanted to do a postdoc to go a little bit deeper into research and get sort of new ideas and learn new techniques, and especially in this like genomics research. And I did quite a bit of looking around, and I visited several labs around Europe and some in the US, and I think why I ended up in the end in the UK was the kind of high quality of research that's happening here, but then at the same time sort of very nice environment. And I felt like the institutes, and especially like the University of Cambridge, kind of the really sort of nice scientific atmosphere of lots of interdisciplinary contacts, and sort of the whole city is revolving around science and education. So I thought that was a really cool place to go to, and I've now been here for almost 2 years, and I've really enjoyed it. So it's been kind of pretty much what I expected, and in some cases there's been sort of positive surprises as well about how things have been. And what else should I say? I guess if you're thinking of either like research or even undergrad studies in Cambridge, I think the way the university is arranged into these colleges is quite a cool thing, and I'm a postdoc affiliated with one of the colleges, which kind of gives you an opportunity to interact with researchers and students from kind of other disciplines, and kind of really have quite interesting contacts and meetings and discussions over dinners and so forth. So I think that's really a cool aspect of the academic life here. And yeah, I guess that's pretty much about the introduction from me. But if there's people in the audience who are interested in doing a postdoc or a PhD in the UK, so I'm happy to talk more about the research aspect during the Q&A, and if you have any questions around sort of fellowships or visas or that kind of thing for researchers, then happy to answer those. Yeah, I think that's all from my side. So thanks. I'm looking forward to chatting more.
Okay, thank you for that, Olli. And we will continue on the research team before moving to undergraduate studies. And our next speaker is Vasama, who is a PhD student at UCL.
So I have a couple slides that I can try sharing. Let me see if that works. So here, hopefully it is visible now. So I'm here to talk a bit about doing a PhD in the UK, and especially, so I'm doing mine at UCL, supported by the Max Planck Society and the Oskar Huttunen Säätiö from Finland. And yeah, so I'm a first-year PhD student in computational psychiatry. It sounds really complicated, but essentially it comes down to something less complicated called computational cognitive neuroscience, which is a combination of mathematics, psychology, and neuroscience. My background is that I'm originally from Helsinki, so I went to high school in Kulosaari. Maybe we have some representation from there here. Then I came here to do a psychology bachelor's at King's College London before doing a master's in neuroscience quickly in Germany, and then returning for the PhD and an RA here in London again at the Institute of Psychiatry before then transferring to UCL. In general, about research from these perspectives, in London specifically, I think it's been a really interesting experience. I think the location is amazing. We are, as this map for unfortunate historical reasons shows, that we're at the center of the world. We definitely are. We're very close to everyone, everywhere, and you get to meet a lot of wonderful people all the way from Asia to Africa to the Americas. It's really great. So with that, definitely one of the best aspects of studying in the UK is the people here. As a research environment, the UK is an old institution, right? So there are some old habits that are still there, but there's, especially in the biomedical field or the medical field, a lot of funding and a lot of progress happening constantly. As a PhD student, I would rate PhD life the worst aspect of studying in the UK, but you learn to live with it. And I would definitely say that even if you would think that these together make studying in the UK less, I would say the sum is more than its parts. So I'm definitely happy with deciding to study here. Just a bit about doing a PhD here. So it's a bit, from what I know about the Finnish system, it's a bit different. Here it is usually a strict 3-year program. Sometimes if you do a doctoral training program, you will be doing a master's before starting your PhD. But generally it's considered a pretty hard limit to do it within the expected time frame. In addition, comparing it to Finland again, here you definitely are a student as a doctoral researcher. So while this means you have some limited influence and limited choices that you can make, it also gives you a bunch of benefits in terms of, for example, you don't have to pay council tax. You're exempt from things like this as a student. Another thing that I thought might be different from the way that you do a PhD in Finland is the way that you do your thesis. So here it's commonly a cumulative thesis where you do 3 publications or 3 projects that then you write up together, and you do a viva at the end where you don't get the sword or the hat that you get in Finland, but you also don't have to do the public presentation that you commonly do in Finland, as far as I know. You usually do it with 2 reviewers. And a bit about finding PhDs. So these are both things. Anything regarding what it's like to do a PhD or how to find a PhD, let me know. I'm happy to answer those questions. So there's a lot of funding here. A lot of it is specific to people who have the residence permit, so that would be a settled or pre-settled status. But there are a lot of different ways to do a PhD here, and I think there's definitely different alternatives, and we can talk about that a bit more. And I've also listed a couple resources here where to look for PhDs in case that's something that you're interested in. So yeah, with that, thanks for listening. Let me know about your questions, and yeah, let me know if you want to email, that is fine too. And thank you for my funders.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for that, Joel. And so yeah, if you have any questions to either Olli or Joel, please post them in the Q&A, and they will answer them at the end of the session once we've gone through all the presentations. But now we will move to the next one, who is Andy Roper from Imperial College. So over to you, Andy.
Hello, thank you very much. Let me just share. No, that's not the right one, is it? Sharing. 2 seconds. And on.
Okay, good now.
Lovely, thank you very much. Now I can't say anything, so I will crack on. Yeah, so I'm just going to talk through a few slides about kind of the more practical side and the more university side of coming to study in the UK. I will apologise for the Imperial branding on this. This isn't an Imperial kind of focused presentation. That is usually my job. But this is more kind of general, but I've used the Imperial slide templates, but don't let that kind of fool you. And as I say, this is a kind of brief introduction to a few things. So please do ask any specific questions that you've got. And I know that some of the other speakers are going to go into a few of these things in a little bit more depth. So, and I know you're about to hear from some students, so I won't dwell on kind of some of the reasons to study in the UK too much, because they'll be able to tell you from their experience exactly why they decided to come and study. But some of the reasons, I think it's already been mentioned, some of the top universities in the world. I think something like 4 of the current top 10 in one kind of study universities are in the UK. And also we have a strong history of kind of welcoming international students to university in the UK. So there is a lot of support available for you, and hopefully the students will be able to talk about that in more kind of detail. It's a very kind of career focus to higher education, and we have a range of different universities. All of the universities in the UK, even the ones that might look a bit similar on paper, are going to be different from each other, and they're going to be in different environments. Some in cities, some all on kind of one space, some spread out across cities, some in the countryside. So there's lots of different university experiences to be had all around the UK. For those of you interested in research, obviously a strong kind of research link, and also the fact that the UK is a kind of world leader in a lot of different areas as well. I'm going to try and play these videos that the British Council sent over. So there's one on kind of living in the UK and one on studying in the UK. So hopefully they've got subtitles, so even if you can't hear them, hopefully you can read them. And as I say, you're going to hear from some more students about perspectives of why people are coming to study in the UK as well. And I'm briefly going to kind of pitch this kind of very low for those of you that are just starting the journey, just to give you an idea of some of the things that are available and some of the terminology in the UK, because it can get occasionally quite confusing. But generally speaking, undergraduate degrees are 3 years. They tend to start with a B for bachelor's degree, various different types. I put some of the most common up there. So Bachelor of the Arts, BSc, Bachelor of Science, BSc. There are some kind of 4-year options available, including what we call undergraduate masters or integrated masters, which tend to be called things like MSci or MEng. You can also kind of study for a year in industry, various other ways, but kind of the standard undergraduate is 3 years. You can often add a 4th year on. Medicine tends to be a little bit different and tends to be up to 6 years for medicine, similar for dentistry and veterinary science. And generally at postgraduate level, at master's level, it's usually 1 or 2 years full time. I forgot to bracket there. And generally speaking, there's 2 kind of types of masters. You can either have a taught masters, which is similar to undergraduate courses, but tend to be more specialist and more kind of focused and at a higher level. Or you can have research masters, where you are undertaking a kind of large research project over the space of that 1 or 2 years. PhDs are usually an extended kind of 3-year minimum, usually extended research project. So that's kind of the terminology and some of the different things that you can study. And again, I'm not going to go into this, so if you've got specific questions, please do let me know. But just to give you an overview of how to apply for those different kind of levels, UK applications are all handled centrally. So we've got a kind of centralised admission service for all UK universities called UCAS, and you apply online for up to 5 courses. And you apply. I'm not going to go into the complexities of the British system for applying to university, because it is, the more I spend time explaining it, the less sense it makes to me. But you apply with predicted grades. So you apply with what you're likely to get at high school. And then there is a process by when you get your results, your place gets confirmed. So it is a slightly odd timeline, but it will make sense when you look into it. Generally speaking, master's degrees, you apply directly to the university. There often are application fees, and sometimes some universities will have a restriction on the number that you can apply to at that university. At Imperial, for example, you can apply for up to 2 courses per year. So you can only apply for 2. You apply directly through the university, and yeah, you may have to pay application fees on top of that. I do not have time, certainly, to talk about the complexity of applying for a PhD. You've already heard a little bit about some of the advantages. Generally speaking, you would normally directly approach academics you're interested in working with that work in and around your kind of area. There's loads of advice out there, but generally speaking, you would have an idea of what you want to write and then start to approach kind of supervisors and academics. There are some funded places available as well, where the topic has already kind of been decided for you. Just to give you some kind of tips, generally things start in around September at undergraduate and postgraduate. Some master's courses do have a January start date, and very occasionally they can be slightly different. Generally, PhDs can start at any time of year, although often it does depend on kind of funding opportunities and things like that. Generally speaking, for pretty much undergraduate and postgraduate, generally applications open from around a year before, and generally the deadline for undergraduates is in January of the year you're looking to start. For example, if you're looking to start next year in September 2026, then the deadline will be in January. Applications will open from this September. Postgraduate courses tend to stay open until they're full. They tend to open maybe a little bit later, maybe October or November, and generally they'll stay open until they're full. Some universities will have deadlines, some courses might do, but often they'll just stay open until they're full. But a lot of them, particularly if you're looking at funding, there may be different deadlines, so you may need a confirmed offer in order to apply for funding, so something for you to look into. And just to say as well, UK universities tend to be quite specialist. So we tend to focus on one, maybe two subject areas. There are a few degree programs at a few UK universities that can do more than that. But generally speaking, it tends to be a kind of quite a specialist program. So different, for example, to the American system. So generally, when we're looking for applications, we're looking at kind of subject motivation. So we're looking at what you want to study, and your application for undergraduate and postgraduate should be focused around that particular topic. I'll put all of these up at once. In terms of entry requirements, I've tried to translate into Icelandic and Finnish qualifications, sorry. So again, taking a kind of average of some UK universities. But again, different universities will have different kind of metrics and different entry requirements for entry. Generally speaking, masters, you will require the equivalent of a UK 2-2, and PhDs, you will require a master's degree to enter onto a PhD program. Undergraduate, it can vary massively between different universities, and generally there will be kind of specialist subjects that they're looking for in there as well. In terms of applications, you may also be asked to do, particularly for the most competitive universities. So, you know, the universities that are kind of internationally known, the 4 in the top 10 that I talked about earlier that you are probably aware of, they may have additional requirements as well. So they may use admissions tests, they may use interviews, and also be aware that if you need a visa, you will also need to meet some English language requirements. So that might be a separate test, or it might be something you're already studying at the moment. And again, you can find out about it on university websites. The bit that I don't like to dwell on, fees, I've put them up there. Again, it varies massively by subject and by university. So again, all the universities will advertise those. Generally, as a rule, at undergraduate and at postgraduate level, so arts-based subjects, arts, literature, kind of generally classroom-based subjects tend to be cheaper. Is the wrong word, but cheaper. More expensive courses tend to be the sciences. They tend to be kind of science related subjects. They tend to be more expensive. Obviously, London universities tend to be more expensive than other universities, and various other things. But again, do look at what is available. And again, cost of living around the UK can vary quite a lot, but generally expect around a minimum of £1,000 up to around 1,600, particularly if you're in one of the large cities. Again, other people are going to talk about funding in more detail, but generally speaking, universities do have funding, although there is less funding available usually for international students, particularly at undergraduate level. There might be a little bit more available at postgraduate level. But again, as you're starting to look at universities at undergraduate or at postgraduate level, that is something that you want to kind of start having a look at, what scholarships and what things are available. And I know we're going to kind of share these slides a little bit later, so I've just put some organisations up there that might be useful that I've put together during that slide. But that is a very brief introduction to kind of the practicalities of coming to study in the UK. And hopefully, I think we're going to hear from some students from the student perspective of that as well.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Andy. That was very informative, and I can see that it has already sparked some questions. We will answer those questions a bit later. So please do post in questions using the Q&A feature on Teams. It seems to work because some people have been posting questions, but if you don't have Q&A, if you have the chat available, you can also use that. We will now move to the next speaker, who is Siiri, who is an undergraduate student at University of Arts London.
Hiya, hope you can hear me. I know it's a bit loud in the background. Let me just share my slides. I made a few slides for this. Just a second. Yeah, can you just confirm you can see this?
Yes.
All right, so my name is Reinikainen. and I'm a year 2 fashion buying and merchandising student at the University of the Arts London, but more specifically, my college is London College of Fashion. And if you're wondering what fashion buying and merchandising is, it's basically fashion business, but I won't be getting into that more. So I'm a year 2 student. I'm just wrapping up my 2nd year, and next year I'm very glad to say I will be going on to do my placement, which is this option to basically do a year-long, usually paid internship, practicing the degree that you're studying in. And I'm on the student route, visa route, and I have fully self-funded my studies. So I came to the UK in autumn 2023, and I'm now paying my tuition fees in installments of 3. So that is something in my university you have to like apply for. So it's not, usually you're paying it in bulk in the autumn. And then like I'm getting student finance help from like Finnish, Kela, and nothing from the UK, unfortunately. And then, yeah, let me tell you a bit more about what I'm representing as well. So I'm with the Finnish Student Society of Great Britain. So you can see our Gmail right there, and also our QR codes that I'm not sure are working. So we're representing the students, Finnish students in the UK, and we are now rebuilding the Finnish student community in the UK after things like Brexit and the pandemic. So far we've done fun organising social events like Vappu Picnic, Pub Night, and also we're providing support for students who are planning to apply to the UK. So you can book one-to-ones by just contacting us, and if there's any student counsellors who have students who are interested in applying in the UK, you can contact us on Instagram or email. But yeah, this was quite short, but
hey, thank you very much for that, Siiri. And also you can see that Olga has, who is also from ISO ry, has put the links in the chat. So I hope people can access the chat. If you can, could you please go and like those links so that we can see that they are visible to you. But now we will move to the next speaker, who is Dina, who is a student here at Imperial College. Your turn, Dina.
Yes, hello everyone. Super nice to meet you. I'm also gonna share my screen quickly. Yeah. So my name is Dina Pöllönen, and I'm studying biochemistry at Imperial College London. And similar to Siiri, I'm also a 2nd year student, so I'll be doing 1 more year and then graduating in 2026. And a little bit about my journey, how I ended up here. So I went to high school in Helsinki, Pohjois-Haagan yhteiskoulu, where I did sports specialization, since I was also a national level figure skater. Not anymore, but before. And then I was interested in applying to universities abroad. So I came across this organization called Project Access, which I will tell you a bit more later. But then I ended up applying to the UK, USA, Canada, Sweden, and Finland. And then out of the options that I had, I thought Imperial was the one that interested me the most. So I decided to come here, and I've been happy with my decision on that. Then here are some pictures about my life. So of course, a lot of my time is spent in the labs, lecture halls, and the library. But we also do a lot of other things, and I think student life is a big thing in the UK in general. So we have a lot of extracurriculars. For example, on the up left, you can see a picture. I went skating with my skating friends, because I still continue that once a week for fun in London. Then I also, my friends, for example, established this European society. So there's a lot of societies. There's Nordic society as well. So you get to meet Nordic people and some Finnish people, even though there's not that many anymore, unfortunately, after Brexit. And then there's also career-focused societies and science societies. So whatever you like, you will find here, or then you can establish a new society in case there isn't one already. Then about life, first year usually we spend living in halls, so you can see the picture from our laundry room, which kind of looks like it's from a movie or something. Not that typical in Finland, but definitely an interesting experience. And then on top of that, I would also mention the same point as we heard earlier, that really the people that you meet from so many different countries, backgrounds, with different ideas and perspectives is really something that makes your experience special here. Yeah, then I will tell you a bit more about my organization, Project Access Finland, which was also part of my journey here. So what we do is we help Finnish students to apply to universities abroad. Our organization is mostly focused on helping high schoolers to go do bachelor's degrees abroad, but we're also doing some events for bachelor students in Finland who want to go and do their masters. So if you are applying next year for start in 2027, we have a bootcamp event organized in August where we help you prep your applications and tell you more information about different regions and opportunities. And you will also get to meet a lot of Finns who study abroad, which is something I found very inspiring 3 years ago when I was there, because you can get tips from them and you can kind of realize that they're also normal people and you're also capable of getting into these universities, and we're here to help you on the journey. Then there's also a study abroad conference that we organize in January, which is open to all. So if you're in Helsinki and interested, definitely come and check that one out. And then here's pictures of some of our speakers in one of our events this year. Many Finnish people from different universities, different subjects, an amazing opportunity to talk to them and hear about experiences. And here is my team. We're quite big now, and we've done what you are aiming to do. So if you have any questions, please reach out. Here is also our socials and our website and email. I can also post them in the chat. So let's stay in touch, and I'm happy to answer any questions related to Project Access, studying at Imperial, or studying biochemistry. So also post those in the chat. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Tina. And then next we have Anni Kallio from Opetushallitus in Finland, telling us about exchange students.
Yes, good afternoon to you all. It's a pleasure for me to join this webinar and tell a couple of words about the possibilities for exchange studies. So I come from Opetushallitus, which is the Finnish National Agency for Education. And yeah, so we run, or actually we finance some of the major exchange programs here in Finland for higher education institutions. So in case you are interested in going to the UK as an exchange student, the first prerequisite is that you first have to be a degree student at a higher education institution in another country, so here in Finland, for example. So either at a university or a University of Applied Sciences. So all these exchange possibilities go through the home university. And usually these options are open for both bachelor level students and as well as master level students. There might be some options also for PhD students, but they are more tailor-made and maybe go through academic fields and so forth. So and can be organized individually. But so in case you are already a student here in Finland, you should first check whether your home university has a partner university or several of those in the UK, and if yes, then usually the universities organize application rounds for exchange studies at least once a year or even twice a year. And if you get accepted as an exchange student, usually the benefit is that there are no tuition fees for exchange students. But there is a limitation that usually the Finnish universities and universities of applied sciences do not have that many partner universities in the UK. They might have a couple of those, or and not in all study fields. So there definitely is a limitation. So not in every study field there is an option, and so that is something that is a limitation. But if on the other hand, if you are accepted as an exchange student, usually you also get a grant for the studies. There are still some possibilities to receive Erasmus Plus grant. Erasmus Plus is the EU funding program, but now as the UK is no longer a program country in the Erasmus Plus program, these options are more limited. But some of the Finnish universities pay some grants also from the Erasmus Plus budget for students going to the UK. But this is something that you should ask your home university about. But if there are no Erasmus Plus grants available, then the university might have some other grants from the university's own funds. So usually to each student exchange place there also is a grant connected. So that is the main principle of these exchange programs. But I think I will not tell anything more, so because I assume that most of you in the audience might be interested in doing a full degree in the UK or doing research or something. So I will be happy to answer any questions if there are any. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Anni. And then the final speaker before we move to the question and answer session is Birgitta Vuorinen from the Finnish Embassy. So over to you, Birgitta.
Thank you, Arttu. And yes, I am Birgitta Vuorinen. I work at the Embassy of Finland as a counselor for education and science. And my task here in the UK is to follow the British education and science policy and report back to Finland. I also do my best to enhance bilateral collaboration between the Finnish universities and British universities and everything that happens in the area of higher education and science. I am part of so-called Team Finland Knowledge Network. That is a network of 8 experts in 7 countries around the world, in Asia, in Africa, and in the Americas. And I am the only representative in Europe here in London, and there is a clear reason for that. This post was established after Brexit, so the purpose of this post is to better understand what Brexit means to higher education institutions and the higher education and science community in general. I work closely with the British Embassy in Helsinki and other British organizations here in the UK, and my closest colleagues are my Nordic and European colleagues in those embassies. And together we try to understand the changes, the political changes, risks and opportunities for bilateral and EU collaboration here in the UK. And we also try to enhance the policy development to boost mobility to the UK and from the UK to European countries, and in my case, especially to Finland. So I do not work kind of closely or directly with students or researchers when they are applying for a study place or looking for research opportunities here in the UK. But my part, in a way, starts a bit later. So here in the UK, I see it important to support the work of ISO ry, which was mentioned before, and other societies, student societies as well, and also the work of Finnish Science Society, which Arttu is chairing. And I think that kind of the most important thing I can do here is to connect people and connect organizations. So the whole embassy, of course, can support in that. So if you end up studying or doing research in the UK, I would like to encourage you to join the networks mentioned, so ISO ry and Finnish Science Society, for instance, and also other organizations. We heard about Project Access from Dina, and I think that once you are here, once you have passed the route and all the possible obstacles you have, then you are good at advising others, and I really appreciate the work that all these networks do here in the UK. They are the best ones to offer peer support and experience-based expertise, and also connect you to other organizations like the embassy, and we are here to help you as much as we can. And what the embassy can do is to help you in passport issues, and if there's a need to renew your identity cards, or if you need, for instance, help in notarial services or something like that. So then our consular section will be of help. And I would also like to mention that every year we hire several interns. And because of the UK's current visa regulations, so our interns have to have an existing residence permit, and at the moment we have 4 interns there, and they all study or have studied here in the UK. So follow our websites, and you'll hear more about the internships we can offer. I hope that today's webinar has showed that the UK is full of options and opportunities, and funding is also available, but it might need some extra work to find out that where you can get that from. And British Council, which is unfortunately not here today, but I would advise you to check their websites, because there's a lot of information about the admission process, the timing, and also about the funding available. So there's very good web pages for that. You might also wonder that why a person coming from Finland markets and advertises UK. And I think that there's a very clear answer to that. So the world is complex. We need international collaboration, and you've already heard, and you probably know already, that the quality of higher education and research here in the UK is very good. So please continue searching, and think that the UK is one of the options available as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Birgitta. And now we will soon move to the question and answer session. We have received some questions already through the Q&A feature here, and also some of you submitted questions when you registered. So we've got already quite a few, but please do post more questions either using the Q&A or the chat. and we will cover them. However, now before we move to that, I just wanted to briefly show, because this was where are we? Because the Finnish Science Society was mentioned. So I'm the chair of this society. So I wanted to show this in case there are people here who are interested in joining. So if you come to the UK either as a researcher or as a student, if you are interested in research, next steps maybe wanting to do research after your degree, please join us. We are a network of Finnish researchers and anyone who is interested in Finnish science here in the UK. And we do things like this event to promote scientific collaboration and mobility between Finland and the UK. So you can scan the QR code to fill our registration form, or you can find us on the social media platforms shown there. And these slides will also share with you, so you can have those from them. So let's move to the Q&A session. And so I will stop sharing, and could all the panelists for our Q&A session turn their cameras on, and we can get started. And as I said, we have received quite a few questions already in advance, and I would like to start with a very common one. This has been asked many times: is what scholarships, financial support, or assistance is available for studying in the UK? And there are obviously different sources, and so therefore I would like to hear from different directions. But maybe I will first pose this question to Linda from Kela in Finland. So what kind of support is available from Kela?
Yes, and hi everyone. I'm Linda Reinikainen from Kela, the Social Insurance Institution of Finland. A student can get a student financial aid for students from Kela, and the aid consists of a study grant, the government guarantee for student loan, and housing supplement. And the amount of study grant is normally about 280 euros per month. The guarantee for student loan is 1,000 euro per month, and the housing supplement is normally 210 euros per month. So these benefits that the student can get from Kela.
Okay, thank you. And maybe Andy, would you be able to answer that from the UK university's perspective? Is there something available?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, as I kind of said, like generally speaking, for a lot of, yes is the short answer. All UK universities will have money available for students. We all decide our own criteria for kind of how to use that money. So a lot of UK universities, for example, you will find that more of those scholarships are available for UK-based students or students in particular circumstances. So it's quite a kind of individual thing, but all UK universities will have some money available. Some universities I know in the UK will have kind of quite generous scholarships for EU students. Some universities may not, and may have kind of for students from different regions, or mostly for UK students. So it is really a kind of individual university thing. But yes, all UK universities will have some scholarships available. It's just that the eligibility may differ. So some universities may be more generous to EU students and to Finnish students than other UK universities.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so I think this is really something where it's good to, it is important to do your research, and I guess it is primarily just looking at university websites and seeing what they have available. Is there something, do you know, Birgitta, is there something you would be able to add to this? Anything that's from other sources?
Well, I would like to mention the foundations, both here in the UK and Finland. I don't know about the UK side, but there are some Finnish organizations that can offer grants, but they are kind of usually for postdocs and PhD students. So if you're in that phase, so I would like to advise you to read the websites of säätiöt.fi in Finland. So you might find some options there. Oskar Huttusen säätiö, which was mentioned earlier today, is one of those who support or which support PhD studies and postdocs here in the UK. But like I mentioned before, so British Council is a good source for that as well. So the websites are very useful. And when it comes to the application phase and the admissions procedure, so UCAS, which was mentioned before, is also a good source of information.
Okay, thank you. Anything more from anyone else on the panel? Dina?
Yeah, I have a couple of tips, like for bachelor's level, there's not many, but from what I've heard from like the Project Access community and friends, there's certain colleges in Cambridge that give very good scholarships. So that's something you could look into. Then I think I've heard there's some in Warwick. And then if you're Finland Svensk, there's the Svenska Kulturfonden that also gives some grants for a bachelor's level as well. But those are all I personally know, but just to add. But yeah, do your research because it differs.
Okay, thank you. Then there are a few more specific questions about applications, and so maybe Andy or Siri or Dina who've gone through this. So there's a question of whether all universities in the UK, I think this is for undergraduate studies, have the same application deadlines and whether there are application fees. So maybe Andy, is that something you could answer?
Yes, the short answer is no. No and yes. Most courses at most UK universities will have a deadline of January. There are some exceptions to that. So the exceptions are any medicine courses, any dentistry courses, any veterinary courses at any university, and also Oxford and Cambridge, or Oxbridge, as they tend to be known. All of those courses have an October deadline. So it'll be, if you're looking at next year, the deadline will be in October this year. I think it's now been confirmed. I think it's the 15th of October this year. It's usually there or thereabouts. So they're the only exceptions to the kind of January deadline. Most other courses will be January in terms of deadline. As I mentioned, all of the UK universities use the same application system. So we all use kind of UCAS. What else was I going to say? Yes, I think that was everything that I was going to cover.
So question about the application fees.
Oh,
so
application fees. Yes, I think the fee for UCAS, I was trying to look it up. I will confirm it in 2 seconds. I think it's, off the top of my head, I think it's £15 if you want to do just one course. I think it's £25 for more than one and up to 5, although I'm slightly out of date, so it may have changed slightly. But there is a small application fee for undergraduate, but it is a relatively small kind of administration fee. And I will check that and I'll put it in the Q&A just to confirm those figures.
Okay, thank you. And maybe while we are discussing these applications, it would be interesting to hear from Siri and Dina how the application process works from your perspective. Is it a lot of work? Are there things that you have to know when you are? I mean, I'm sure this is of course something which Project Access will be able to answer in a lot more detail. But briefly, briefly, how did it feel from the Finnish applicants' side?
Yeah, I guess I can go first. I think overall it's of course very different to the Finnish system where you just put down your list of universities and press a couple buttons and they just either take your entrance exam results or your matriculation exam ylioppilaskirjoitus results. So for me personally, I only had to complete the UCAS form, which consists of a recommendation from your teacher. Then it used to have a page-long written section, which is now divided into 3 questions, I believe, since they're updating the system, and then just normal details. So I think most work for me was to arrange with my teachers to write the recommendation letter for me because it's not that common in Finland. And then on top of that, I wrote the letter about my motivation. So for that, you, like Andy said before, you focus on your subject-related activities. So for example, if you've read some books or you're super interested in a specific scientific phenomenon and you've done some, I don't know, research shadowing or went to a seminar or something. So these kind of experiences are something that you would mention there. But then additionally to some universities, you might have entrance exams and interviews on top of that. So I would advise that you look into it early, but don't be too intimidated because I, for example, started maybe a month and a half or a month before the deadline. So you can definitely still do it. It's not too late, but it's something to look into.
Okay, thanks, Tina. So how about Siiri? You applied to a different kind of a subject. So was it different experience?
Actually, since mine is business related most, I didn't have to do anything creative, but usually for arts and design, you do have to do some kind of visual portfolio, but thank God I didn't have to do that. So I just filled out the UCAS form, and also just to highlight on what Tina said, there is when you write the motivational letter, you only write it once and you can apply with the same one to all of the 3 or more courses that you want to apply to, so you don't have to start writing multiple different ones. And yeah, I took a gap year after doing my IB, so I had already gotten my confirmed grades instead of my predicted grades that usually you get and apply with if you haven't finished officially uni. But also just to talk about the application process, how it is after you have gotten an offer, is that usually for Finnish students, it's a conditional offer because you have to do the IELTS, so the language test afterwards. It doesn't matter if you have done, like I have done, the IB, if you have never lived and went to a school in a Commonwealth country, you do have to do the IELTS, and it's in Helsinki. And it's also just, this is a pro tip, please schedule it in advance. I did the mistake. I had to wait 2 months to do mine, and it was very close to having to move to the UK anyway. So recommend checking that early, but it's fairly easy to do.
Okay, thank you. Yes, and I think that's a very important point, that even if you're studying in English, if you're doing IB, and even if you have top grades in English, you need to do the language test. There's one question here about what all universities provide a medicine degree, and more generally, where can one find information about all UK universities? Andy, have you got something to say about where one could go to look for information more generally?
Yeah, generally, I'd probably say the UCAS. So as I keep saying, we all use a centralized kind of admission system called UCAS, the University and College Admission Service. I think it's just ucas.com, as far as I know. And yeah, they have got a kind of search function on there, so you can search by subject and you can find basically a list of all of the UK universities that do that subject at undergraduate level. Especially at postgraduate level, there is some information there, and they are building on it, but it tends to be a little bit harder to find. So if you are looking at postgraduate, masters, and PhD study, it is a bit more complicated. It is a case of kind of, you know, Googling, maybe looking at UCAS at undergraduate courses, which universities are good at those, and then going on that university's website to see what postgraduate courses they offer. There are less kind of organized banks. There are a few, so there's a website called Find a Masters, but there are kind of less organized lists for postgraduate courses, so it's a bit more involved. But yeah, for undergraduate, have a look at UCAS, so ucas.com.
Okay, thank you. And as the postgraduate studies were mentioned, so I was wondering, this was also one of a question that has been asked in different ways a few times, is where one can find research projects. I think this is primarily for PhD studies. So Joel, can you say how that would, in your experience, of course, it depends on the field, I'm sure, but in your experience, how did that process go?
So there's a lot of these doctoral training programs which do provide funding for both they provide a stipend, but also they then provide for the research costs. So some of them release a list of pre-allocated projects with a PI. So you could either approach the PI, which would be the lead researcher or the supervisor, and ask if they have a project listed through one of these training programs, or then alternatively just approach the training program directly. Recommended usually to approach the supervisor first. And in that regard, there was also this note that sometimes PIs might actually have funding on their own behalf already without these training programs to support students who would want to work with them.
Okay, thank you. And I can see that Birgitta has posted a link for a website which has some funding opportunities for PhDs and researchers. I think also these things are very subject dependent, so it is good to speak to people in your field, your lecturers in Finland, the supervisor of your pro gradu or whatever you do in Finland, and they will be able to tell you who the people are, and also if you want, you can get in contact with us, the Finnish Science Society, and we will be able to. We know we have a good network of researchers here in the UK, and we will be able to put you in the right direction for finding the relevant courses, relevant PhD programs that you might be interested in. Maybe we could ask, then now I see Olli has rejoined us. So Olli, in your experience, how did you apply for your postdoctoral position, and where do you find, where would you say people should look for information if they want to know what postdoctoral opportunities are available?
It's a really good question. I guess for me it was mostly just somewhat known to me based on other papers.
I think there's some audio issue, so I couldn't hear all of that. So maybe you can try again.
So can you hear me now?
Yeah, it works better now. Yeah.
I can try also. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Is this better?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Yeah. So about finding the postdoctoral position. So for me, that was basically just contacting labs that I knew were doing interesting stuff based on what I had done before, and that was kind of somewhat related but slightly different. And kind of I had looked at papers from these labs, and I thought like that's the kind of stuff I want to do. So I kind of ended up cold emailing the PIs that you have something that we could work on together, and yeah, that's sort of how I ended up doing it. And I also had some colleagues that had experiences either like collaborating with the labs or visiting the labs that I had sort of some good word that these might be places that would be good ones to go to. I guess otherwise you do have like email lists and social media, LinkedIn, Blue Sky, X, all these that potential PIs like post kind of job positions and all that. But then there's also a lot of kind of just opportunities that are not advertised, and for me it was I ended up then writing a fellowship, so I'm currently on the this fellowship from the EMBO Society, so it's a European Molecular Biology organization that that is something that you can apply to if you get the fellowship. That also helps you get the visa to the UK quite in a quick fashion. So that was good. So then with the kind of fellowships you have, I guess, more room to select where you want to go, because you're kind of bringing in your own money as well to like contribute to your salary, and then of course the lab needs to then contribute to the experiments or other costs depending on what your field is. But I guess that's how I ended up choosing the position. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. And I think that was very good, because basically for postdoctoral research, one could say there are three different ways it can be funded. You can be funded from Finland by, for example, Oskari Huttunen Foundation or other Finnish foundations, and or there are fellowships which are available from the UK. From like it sounds like your case is one of those. In the UK, there are the research councils have fellowships which you can apply for, which tend to be very competitive. But if you get those, then you have that grant. You held it at some university, but you've got a lot of independence in your research. And then the third way of funding it is that the university research group, some professor or someone there has already a grant, and they will hire you on that grant, in which case you are just employed by the university, and that means that you are then working on a specific project. But the way you apply for these different kinds of things is always different, and so therefore you have to look at what's the best thing for you, and depending on your field. And I would say it's very good to speak to your PhD supervisor if you're in that stage, or someone else who knows the field and therefore can point you to the right direction.
Yeah, exactly. Perhaps something that I can still comment about that is that then depending on your where the funding comes from, whether it's from your kind of host lab if they're paying a salary, or then if you have one of the more kind of competitive fellowships, then that can influence what kind of visa you're on when you're coming to the UK. And there's basically, I think for postdocs, the options are the kind of skilled worker visa, which is something that requires like a endorsement from your employer that, okay, this person is coming here and they're going to work here, and then your visa is kind of tied to your employment. So then if you change jobs, you will, I think, need to apply for a new one, or at least have some arrangement around that. And then with some of these fellowships, like the one that I'm currently on, it was kind of allowed me to apply for this global talent visa, which then kind of gives you, I think it's for 5 years that it gives you just freedom to work on anything you want. So you could just switch jobs or switch positions, and it's not tied to your employment. So it's little bit more flexible, and then allows to apply for the kind of indefinite leave to remain, and in a bit fast-tracked way if you're thinking of staying long term. So that was just something to maybe consider.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thanks, Olli. So how about you, Dina, Siri, and Joel? What's your experience with visas?
Well, for me, I think the process of applying was quite easy, and I got it in 2 days or something. But of course, they have some like financial requirements to get a visa, which are not that strict for EU students, I think, compared to like if you come outside of the EU. But still, so something to keep in mind, and check maybe on UK government's website, I think. And then there's additionally also this NHS, so kind of the national healthcare, or HUS for Helsinki people, that you have to pay when you get your visa. And it's quite a bit of money for a year. I think it's a couple £1,000 for your entire degree, and you have to pay it once. But I think as an EU person, you could get it back if you don't use public healthcare. But I didn't do that, so I can't comment on that. But I think the process was quite easy, but there's some things to keep in mind and search for in advance. But yeah, I don't know about the others.
I mean, I had the same experience. The NHS fee was quite the surprise when you're applying for the visa, because you have to pay it in bulk in advance, and then also there's the process fee, which is 300 for the normal for like the normal delivery time, and otherwise if you want it really fast you can get it for 700. This was the last time in 2023, so I'm going to assume it has increased a little bit. But otherwise, also on the student visa, a bit about how it works is that you get to work on it. So if you're an undergraduate student, especially from Finland, I think it varies a bit, like if you're from another country, but for Finnish students at least, it's 20 hours of work in a week. There are some roles you cannot work, but between terms you are able to work full time. And then if you want the NHS costs, like the fee back, you have to agree that you won't work during your duration of the visa. And also when you're applying for the student visa, you have like 3-4 months in advance after you have like graduated, you have like 4 months to spare to stay in the UK and then figure out what you want to do.
Okay, thanks.
Unfortunately, do not have any input on this since I'm on the settled status. But yeah, that's what I've heard. Like it can be quite tough, but not as complicated as it sounds like a visa. Yeah.
Yeah, I think overall, so both students and researchers are in a fairly good position relative to many other sectors. Is that for students there's a separate visa, and there are lots of international students in the UK, so it's very much a routine thing and the universities will guide you through it. And it's the same with researchers. You'll get support from your employer to guide you through that process. There was a specific question. I don't know if anyone here has got experience on personal experience on this, but someone is asking specifically when you come with family, how do the visas work then? Can anyone here say anything about that?
So
I have just sent a link. Sorry, I don't have my camera on. There we go. Hi, I'm Susanna. I'm from the British Embassy in Helsinki. I just posted a link in the chat to gov.uk, where you can find all the information on visas. And the last link I just posted is specifically for your if you have a partner or children and are coming to the UK, so you can check out that.
Okay, thanks, Susanna.
I can briefly comment on that. So I came here with my partner, who's kind of staying here part-time and then part-time doing work back in Finland still, but still we both got visas to move here and kind of moved here together. So and so basically there is this kind of spouse visa, or if you have either this for postdocs, if you have either the skilled worker or the global talent, you can get kind of a spouse or a dependent visa on that, and then you need to prove that you're either married or like long-term living together, so avoliitto kind of thing, and that you prove by sending a bunch of electricity bills addressed to you both in the same address for like 3 years or something like that, which is the strange way they like to do it here. But basically, after sending a bunch of those, they quite quickly believe that yes, we've been living together, and my partner, who didn't have like a job here at that point, then she could get the visa for that. And I'd imagine it should be similar if you have children, but I don't know about that. But that's my experience, and yeah.
Okay, thank you. Right. Moving on to something else. There is a question here. I guess we live in an uncertain world, and there is a question about safety and security. So how is security ensured on campuses? So maybe, well, maybe I'll start with Andy. Is there something you can say about that? Others can then tell their personal experiences. But so, how safe are UK universities?
Yeah, I think generally the UK, I think a lot of universities will kind of report on kind of things. I think generally very safe. I mean, I've worked at a number of universities now around kind of London, in the middle of obviously a very large capital city, and generally kind of, yeah, reported crime tends to be very, very low. Most universities will have kind of, in fact, I think all universities have got 24-hour security, including at accommodation. They'll have kind of 24-hour desks and people that you can contact through kind of, you know, at Imperial, we've got an app that you can contact security wherever you are on campus. I think a lot of universities have got similar things. And yeah, they'll have their own security officers and things like that. So I think generally speaking, it is, yeah, from a university perspective, kind of, you know, reported crime and things like that, it tends to be very, very safe. But yeah, I think I'll hand over to the students for more kind of student-focused kind of take on that as well. Because yeah, I think kind of, you know, statistically being safe and feeling safe are slightly different things. So I don't want to kind of talk too much about that.
Yeah, so what are your experiences, students?
Well, I guess I can start. I think overall, I've never had a huge worry about like unsafety, even though I live in London. But of course, I think it's very different compared to Helsinki, where I used to live. Like sometimes during the winter, it's like a long day, and I'm like, I want to go on a run, and it's 9 p.m., but I really can't go on a run alone in the dark. Or I don't know, I feel like it's not something that I want to do. So maybe, yeah, if you're out late somewhere, I think also Imperial encouraged us, like near the accommodations that we lived in, like if it's late that you would come with people. But I think there is overall like the safety apps, and like universities really take care of like guiding you through how to be safe and where to find support in case you are in some kind of situation there requires attention. But it's different. It's something to consider also, maybe where you want to study in the UK. If you would like being in the countryside, and maybe London is not the place for you. But personally, I've been happy and able to live my life normally here. So.
Okay, thanks. You got anything to add to that, Siri?
Me?
Yeah.
I mean, I came from the countryside of Finland straight to London, and honestly, I've been just managing with common sense. I do have to say, campus is never been the place where I would have felt unsafe. And honestly, the most common thing, I think everyone reads about it. Everyone has a friend or a friend of a friend who has had this happen to them, but phone thieves are like the most common crime in London, and I feel like that's the only really thing that I've heard anyone really talk about, but that's never at campus really. So London, otherwise, with common sense, it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's right. So London is a big city, and big cities are they are very different from small Finnish towns, but overall, I would feel that university campuses are safe. Okay, we are coming to the end of our time, so maybe we'll finish with just a quick round of what has been the best thing about either studying or carrying out research in the UK. So maybe I'll start in the order. You are on my screen, so maybe Dina, what's been the best thing about being in the UK?
Now I'm being put on the spot. Well, I think there's many things, but the first thing that comes to my mind is the people and the multicultural experience, and how that also prepares you for life, because you have to adapt to many different situations, and you also learn a lot by just living your everyday life and having lunch with your friends. And then it's also nice that we have a strong Finnish community here, so also on the people side. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dina. How about Siri?
I was going to say the Finnish community that I've found here has been like the best thing, and it has helped with settling in here so well. But I would say like middle school and 6th grade me would be so happy to know that I'm studying fashion in my favorite town. So I would say that is the best thing.
Yeah, actually, before I go to, so thanks for that. Before I go to Joel, there is a question here which someone really wants answered. So let me take this. So, question is, if you do IB, do you need to do SAT? I think that's the American SAT that they are referring to. So the answer would be no, I believe.
No.
Yeah, from my
you just apply with your IB grades.
Yeah, so it is just the IB grade.
Yeah, you can see the grade requirements on the university's page under every course, so just check those out.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So let's continue our round of experiences. So Joel.
Yeah, I mean, echoing very much what has been said already so far, that just being in a very global city has been really great. You get to see a lot of like things from all over the world, plus experience research from all kinds of directions, which has been really great for developing at least my career. So that's something I've been enjoying a lot.
Okay, thank you. And then Olli, how about you?
Yeah, I agree a lot on the kind of international aspect. Like I'm based in Cambridge, which is not the largest city in the world or the UK, but it's still extremely international in a scientific sense. And like the lab or the labs that I'm affiliated with, they are like really, there's full of people all over the world, and like Europe, Asia, US, everywhere. So I think that's really a great aspect. And as I said in the kind of introduction, I did quite a bit of kind of interviewing at different places in Europe and in the US as well. And I think that was the kind of thing that where the UK really stood out, that there's really people from everywhere, which is not the case in all places. So I think that's been really great for me. And yeah.
Okay, so thank you for that. So thank you everyone on the panel. Thank you audience for very good questions. And so I hope this was useful. And we will share the materials with you. And we have already in the chat, you can find a lot of the links to various sources of information, and in the materials that we will be sharing, there will be more. So please have a look at those. I hope you get all the information that you need from those, and also you will have the details of both the Finnish Science Society, the Student Society, and Project Access there. So please do get in touch with us if you want to get on this journey, and certainly if you end up coming here to the UK. So great to have you here. Thank you very much for participating. Bye-bye.